We don't typically drink milk or juice out of fountains, but for some reason, the soda fountain remains one of the dominant distribution systems for soft drinks. In fact, if you've left your house in the past 50 years, you've likely noticed that pretty much every fast food joint, convenience store, and movie theater now has one. How did soda fountains manage to conquer virtually all of food service? Well, today we're going to take a look at why we drink soda out of fountains. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Foods channel. After that, please leave a comment and let us know what other food-related contraptions you would like to hear about. Okay, do they do free refills here? Technically speaking, a soda fountain is a machine that dispenses carbonated water and flavored syrup, which are mixed together into a sparkling beverage known as a fountain drink. During the heyday of such machines, the name soda fountain was also applied to the businesses that housed such equipment and sold such refreshments. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. The story of the soda fountain really begins thousands of years ago, when numerous ancient cultures started to believe in the rejuvenative powers of mineral water. Mineral water, for the record, is water which comes from a mineral spring, and, as the name suggests, it contains minerals, like salts and various sulfur compounds. Most importantly for our purposes, though, water from mineral springs can sometimes be naturally carbonated. Since mineral water was highly coveted, it was also valuable, and as a result, entire industries would often be built around natural springs. By the 17th century, someone had hit on the idea of bottling this allegedly medicinal water for sale. And since many of those springs produced carbonated water, that's what wound up in the bottles. As a result, people started to associate carbonated water with medicine. It wouldn't be until the 18th century, however, that scientists finally started figuring out how to carbonate that water themselves. And some of the early methods of doing so utilized sodium bicarbonate. The first British patent for a carbonation process would then be issued in 1807. It didn't use any sodium bicarbonate, but the bubbly liquid it produced still became widely known as soda water. The first American patent for a soda fountain was issued to a doctor named Samuel Fahnestock in 1819. His device was basically just a fancy barrel with a pump and a spigot, but functionally speaking, it wasn't all that different from the soda fountains we know today. That being said, it would really be the far more cost-effective version, invented by New York-based British expat John Matthews in 1832, that changed everything. Matthews' machine was 6 feet long and nearly as tall. It had several spigots, each for dispensing a different liquid, and it was, by all accounts, rather ornate, like a decorative Coke machine. Most importantly, it used a metal-lined chamber to mix sulfuric acid and calcium carbonate, which created carbonated water in quantities large enough to be sold to street vendors and pharmacies. Now, keep in mind that at this point, soda water was still largely seen as curative, and many of the world's most famous soft drinks, including Coke, Pepsi, and Dr. Pepper, were originally invented by pharmacists who intended them for medicinal use. As a result, soda fountains quickly became fixtures in pharmacies. Soda fountains continued to grow in popularity right through the beginning of the 20th century. Then, in 1919, the U.S. government would do something that would cause that popularity to absolutely explode. It ratified the 18th Amendment to the Constitution, otherwise known as Prohibition. A near-total ban on alcoholic beverages pretty much killed off the social scene at bars. And all of a sudden, soda fountains became the place to be. A 1915 issue of Soda Fountain magazine, no, really, we're not making this magazine up, even said, "The soda fountain of today is an ally of temperance. Ice cream soda is a greater medium for the cause of temperance than all the sermons ever preached on the subject." As soda fountains continued to evolve mechanically, they started appearing in places like candy stores, department stores, train stations, restaurants, and even barbershops. The businesses themselves were also referred to as soda fountains, and the person who operated the soda fountain became known as a soda jerk. To the modern ear, that sounds like the soda jabroni or the soda melvin. But the jerk, in this case, referred to the physical motion of jerking the fountain spigot to release the soda. It was a term of endearment. Soda jerks were part bartender and part entertainer, and successful ones could even become local celebrities. Soda fountain businesses hit their peak in the 1940s, and by the 1950s, they were an absolutely iconic part of American youth culture. But nothing lasts forever. And the rise of car culture and the shift to suburban living slowly began to change all that. Chains like Walgreens ate away at the pharmacy business, while drive-ins and roadside retailers like Dairy Queen switched to selling prepackaged soda in bottles and cans, which was a better fit for their respective business models. Also hastening the demise of old-fashioned soda fountains was the creation of the soda dispenser, which mixed the syrup and water automatically. Using one simply required holding a cup beneath the spigot, so it eliminated the need for specialists like soda jerks. And with them went the social scene to whom they catered. Today, soda dispensers, which people still refer to as soda fountains, are pretty much all that's left. But if you're determined to get a look at the old-fashioned kind, we're happy to report a handful of the early ones still exist to this very day. Delecta Pharmacy in Warren, Rhode Island, for example, opened their doors in 1858 and is still using a manual soda fountain. And Payne's Soda Fountain and Sandwich Shop, which installed their first soda fountain a decade later in 1868, is still doing business in Scottsboro, Alabama. There are at least a dozen or so more still out there. But if it's something you've wanted to try, you shouldn't dally. Given their ubiquity in the modern food service business, you probably assume that modern science worked all the bugs out of soda fountains long ago. But that's not exactly the case. A 2010 study, for example, found that nearly half of the beverages dispensed from soda fountains were contaminated with something called coliform bacteria. While not particularly dangerous itself, the presence of coliform bacteria in a sample is usually a pretty reliable sign that other, far more dangerous and pathogenic organisms will also be present, often of fecal origin. Some of the samples even contain traces of the considerably more harmful strain known as E. coli, as well as the bacteria Chrysobacterium meningosepticum, which is particularly dangerous to infants and people with weak immune systems.
But wait,
You say,
that study is 15 years old. Surely the problem has been addressed by now.
well, unfortunately, not. A similar study conducted in 2023 found 41% of soda fountains were still contaminated. That same study also found that 25% of soda fountains contained water at a temperature ideal for growing clusters of bacteria known as biofilms. Long story short, biofilms often contain pathogenic microorganisms which pose serious threats to public health and safety. And while no one's trying to gross you out, a 2017 investigation in Florida found soda fountain nozzles contaminated with slimy black and green mold-like substances during surprise inspections at local restaurants. And let's not forget how much bugs love sugar, which is usually a main ingredient in soda syrup. It's not unheard of for a restaurant employee to open up a soda fountain and find the inside swarming with cockroaches. Regular cleaning is supposed to prevent that type of thing, and most soda fountains have strict guidelines covering how often they should be serviced. Drink manufacturers like Coke and Pepsi are also pretty clear that the nozzles and syrup connectors should be removed and sanitized on a daily basis. But overworked restaurant workers trying to get everything done at an understaffed establishment often skip cleaning tasks that aren't plainly visible to the clientele. In other words, it's usually easy to spot if the floor hasn't been mopped, but unless you have X-ray vision, telling if the soda fountain has been cleaned is pretty much impossible, so it doesn't always get done. Ultimately, most soda fountains are still probably safe to drink from, but if you want to be 100% sure you're not drinking from a moldy E. coli bath for cockroaches, you should drink something that's bottled or canned. The catch there, of course, is that bottled and canned soda tends to be more expensive than soda from a fountain, mostly because the price of bottled and canned sodas factor in packaging and shipping costs that don't really apply to the fountain version. But you may find it's a small price to pay to sidestep the whole fecal contamination thing. Despite the sanitary issues, soda fountains are still everywhere today, and they have a cult-like following who insist that fountain soda is better than the bottled stuff. Soda manufacturers, for their part, uniformly say the fountain contains the same exact stuff you'll find in bottles and cans, but the fans aren't entirely imagining it either. Different retailers can set their own syrup-to-water ratio. That's why the fountain soda you get at McDonald's can taste strikingly different than the one you get at somewhere like Panera Bread. In fact, a small Coke at McDonald's usually contains around 40 grams of sugar, while the similar size you'll get at a Panera contains 67. In other words, certain fountain sodas might genuinely taste sweeter than what you get out of the bottles and cans. And except for Coke, which ships their syrup in stainless steel glass tanks, fountain soda syrup tends to be shipped in plastic bags. The acetaldehyde from those bags can get into the syrup itself, and that also ultimately affects the taste of the soda. Similarly, soda cans are coated with a polymer lining that is known to absorb some of the flavor from the liquid. That means canned soda might objectively taste milder than the soda that comes out of bottles or fountains, even though they all contain the same ingredients. Heck, even the type of cup and straw you use to consume the soda can affect its taste. So yes, fountain soda truly does taste different. And, although it's obviously subjective, you might really like that taste better than the bottled or canned option. Just like other types of technology, soda fountains continue to evolve and improve. Take, for example, Coca-Cola's Freestyle soda fountain, which was introduced back in 2009. The Freestyle, which you've probably seen in a movie theater or fast food restaurant, is a soda fountain controlled by a digital touchscreen. It contains a jaw-dropping 165 different Coca-Cola products, including a few custom flavors. Consumers put their cup under the dispenser, and then they use the screen to select which beverage they want, even if it's a mixture of more than one type. Newer models even include Bluetooth, so it can interface with a mobile app. The Freestyle system has been such a success for Coke, their biggest rival, Pepsi, decided to make their own version, which, for some reason, they called the Pepsi Spire. The Spire doesn't offer nearly as many options as the Freestyle. The mere fact that it exists is a pretty good sign that the digital touchscreen system represents the future of soda fountains. Of course, the way things are going these days, we'll all soon be getting our cola from some fancy AI soda fountain that will pick the flavors for you. But for now, we all get to be our own soda jerks. So what do you think? Do you prefer fountain soda over the canned stuff? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other weird history food.